Hey everyone, happy Monday. Is my audio working okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, question number one from Sid. You want to voice it over?
For sure, thanks. So we had an OKR, add another type of Linux consumption pricing, so like have different Linux runners. But the only reason we have that because it was an MVC of where we want to get to, OS X and Windows runners. And now there's kind of confusion, like, oh, no one's asking for this. No, that's right. We just want to do a minimal step. But it seemed that kind of we lost track of what we originally wanted. Should we change this to like, let's do OS X and Windows runners and maybe move it from the fulfillment team, which has a lot of different priorities, to a CI team for which, like, this is the reason we're losing a lot of people to Circle CI today, because they offer this and we don't. Like, we're not a complete CI solution today because of this. What are you, and like OKRs are not set in stone. It's stuff we change during the quarter if we set a wrong goal. What do you think?
It makes sense to me. You and I have put this a couple times, and so I think it makes sense. Jason Lenny out there. I was planning to. He just got back from paternity leave. I was gonna bring it up this week and see how he views this relative to other CI priorities. But it seems like making the shift to OS X and Windows makes sense to me. Are there any other comments or input from folks that are closer to the CI priority list?
I am here, Scott. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, Jason. Good morning.
I am just, but this is something that we could consider doing for sure. We have other priorities, of course, as well. We just went through a list of other things that competitors were doing that were important that we wanted to have parity on, and those kind of filled up the schedule as well. But this is pretty important. There was a really interesting thing that Camille found, potentially a partnership or at least some kind of technology collaboration with Mac Stadium to see if we could do something in collaboration there for OS X runners at least. We've done a ton of investment in making the Windows runner actually capable. So that's actually a little further along in terms of the technology side. So there is things that we can do here. I wouldn't say that CI, though, has free cycles to add bonus tickets. Something else that's important would have to move, but we can make that assessment.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you and I and Sid could debate the options here and where we want to slot this in. Other questions?
I'll ask one and then I'll write it in, Scott.
Okay. Hey, Christopher.
Good morning. So on your priority of hiring, you list the 3 directors first and then the senior PMs. Is that just happenstance or is that intentional?
Very intentional. We want to get the team leaders in, to help further hire. Like, you get a director in, they can help. There's more hiring leverage there. We also want to relieve Eric and Kenny and Jason, who have very wide scope right now. And thirdly, product managers deserve a great manager who has the right amount of has the right span of control that can help them, give them context, advance their skill level, sort of coach and mentor them. And so for all those reasons, we feel like the 3 director roles are the highest priority from a sourcing standpoint. Other questions?
Since no one's asking questions, I have enough questions all the time, but I encourage other people to speak up. Rather have your questions. I get to talk with Scott more. We don't have any of our defense stages in the product today, and it's kind of, that's okay for a couple of months, but I think it's time for a first iteration. is there anything coming down the pipe? And I'm thinking specifically of implementing mod security as a web application firewall that works with auto DevOps.
Yeah, I can take that one.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe 3 months ago, we had the WAF MVC scheduled, but as a result of some increased customer pain in the secure stage categories, we pushed it out to focus on improving the maturity in the secure stage categories. But it is on schedule, I think, on my side, Nicole, in the next 3 to 4 releases. So we're starting to do investigation. But our current category maturity target has that MVC in Q3.
Yeah, so maybe this more engineering question, I can ask it there too. Don't we have, is it only our secure team that's working on this? Don't we have are we going to grow a defend team? We're supposed to have 3 defend teams by the end of the year. I think we reduced that a bit, but are we going to have 2 teams? And don't we already have at least 1 person?
Yeah, so I can speak, and I don't know if Todd's on, he can also add commentary, but we made the decision to incubate defend in the growing number of secure teams. And we actually had our 3rd secure EM join today, or at least last week. So we've been growing out the secure team and saying it to the extent that we are going to be adding defend functionality, we'll add it from within those teams. So their coverage includes defend, and then we will split out a defend team as the team grows.
I think we're going to have overwhelming customer pressure to kind of do things insecure. I think no customer is going to ask for defense. I think with our increasing focus on customer results, incubating within might not be workable.
Because you're saying the prioritization will never happen within that stage.
Yeah, no customer will ask for a new stage, and rightfully so. Look, they bought a secure product. They want improvements there. So you're setting this PM up for kind of why don't you have anything in defend while they're doing their job and listening to customers?
Well, so in the current state, this PM is me. But in the future, I do think we expect PMs to both expand breadth and focus on depth at the same time. I think we can juggle the two. We've been juggling the two to get us to the point where we are today, where we have a number of new categories, despite those having been incubated within CI or ops. So I don't think I'm not concerned about the PM not being capable of juggling between those two.
I think you've done a great job, but I think not having a separate defend team is not going to make our lives easier. So giving that as a consideration, but I think you've done a great job so far, and I think everyone has done a good job juggling the responsibilities. I agree.
And I'll also add, Monday, we have a new principal PM for Defend starting. So we have a new product manager, and that product manager will then be focused on the topic and be able to drive the team when the team is ready to split. So we haven't split yet, but we are planning to.
Kenny, current course and speed, did you, and Todd, did you say, when were you planning to break out the defend team?
I don't know if we have it on schedule. I thought of it more as the secure team grows, there's more bandwidth for breadth to focus on defend.
All right, perhaps Christopher and I and others could take that up at a product eng meeting to discuss when the time is right to break out a team.
Great, I put it on the PM and engineering agenda.
Thank you. John May.
Hey Scott, how are you doing? Welcome from Boulder. That's awesome to see. I'm currently dealing with a few customers that have added numbers of licenses as part of a migration from other people, and so their actual usage count, goes up tremendously based on the number of people that they moved over. However, those people aren't actual users, so they, there's a hesitancy for them to pay for people that aren't actually using GitLab, but they're there because we migrated them, right? Huh. So as part of that, our usage count in our system, when they go on our UI, shows that they have like 20,000 people, but in all reality, they may have 5,000 people. So They're asking us, when will that process be more accurate, and could we make it more efficient? Is that one of the things they were, I think, speaking to a little bit what Sid always says, which if we can automate it, let's do that, right? If we can do that. So they would love to be able to have it model the AWS system where you add something, you get billed for it. So I know every contract can't be done that way, but is there a way that we can make that more efficient? I know Eric Linkman put something there, and there is an issue further down. It's around maximum users should always reflect current counts. But oftentimes we have customers where it doesn't reflect that, and I have to issue them a key for way more than the license actual amount is, because if, say, they have 10,000 users and in the system, but really they only need 4,000 users, and I issue them a key for 4,000 users, it will just automatically get rejected. Sorry, that's a long-winded thing, but there you go.
Eric or Luca, do you have more detail on this specific ask?
I don't, Scott, but John, just wanted to make you aware of the things that the fulfillment team are working on, and just to call that work out, which is the self-service upgrades for GitLab.com. Obviously, that's not the only thing that the team is working on, but that's the #1 priority right now for the fulfillment team. And then we'll be moving on to some of the licensing stuff. I'm just going to share my screen very quickly, so you can see. So here's the priorities from the transactions perspective on fulfillment. Self-service upgrades for GitLab.com, improving the trial experience, improving the purchase experience, and then automatically billing for new users on GitLab.com. But you were asking more on licenses, right? So here's your maximum user issue that you referred to. I also wanted to call attention to the fact that there's a whole number of licensing issues currently open. We have 111 in the issue tracker. And so I can take an action offline to make sure that your specific ask is documented here. And then we can work on getting that prioritized. So I just wanted to show that to you.
That would be great. Much appreciated. I know you guys do a lot of work and you work hard at a lot of things. If we can be of any help for you from a customer perspective to get their side, by all means, let me know. I'm happy to help participate.
Great update. Thank you, Eric. Patrick D., did you want to voice this over?
Yeah, sure. We've actually, and I think I'm not necessarily the right person to talk through this, but there is an issue right now that has been gaining some traction around adding service accounts. Specifically, the request was around getting license usage down for companies who have a bunch of integrations. They're creating specific users and then taking those users' personal access tokens for usage with integrations, which is kind of unfair because that's not an actual seat that's being used. So we've got a ticket or an issue that I mentioned there where we're looking at adding those service users that's currently being discussed. So if you have anything that you could drop in use cases and talk more about that, that'd be any customer usage would be really valuable to discuss in there.
Thank you, Patrick. Christy.
Hey, so I'm so excited to see that we did 75 customer interviews in Q2. That's amazing. Can you talk just more about what that initiative is, why we're doing it, and what you think we'll get out of it?
Yeah, first of all, there was an OKR coming into the quarter that even preceded me that requested that each PM do at least 3 interviews. So it was an intentional goal coming into the quarter, first of all. Secondly, it's been a point of emphasis for me coming into the role to push the team to do more qualitative interviewing in general. My suggestion is to frame it around either problem interviews, where you're trying to understand what the problem is the customer needs you to solve, and or a solution interview where you think you have a solution to their problem and you want to go out and test it qualitatively. So I think the team has been doing both of those types of interviews. The research team has also driven a number of conversations around persona-based flows through the system and research-level interviews that PMs have participated in. So coming at it from a bunch of different angles, and the net result is a real uptick in the number of qualitative interviews being scheduled. Anything else you want to dive into on that? Oh, how it will pay off. I just think when PMs and designers and researchers stack up a bunch of interviews, you start to develop much better intuition about who the target user is, what they're trying to do, what will work for them. That you might miss some things if you operate more on gut instinct. So we're trying to set up a system where this is a regular, recurring activity, and the quality of our decisions will improve over time. The more of these you do, you get better. You can triangulate. You can see patterns, and it gets a lot easier to sift through all the inputs that come out of PM when they have this filter to work through. So it takes a while, and it's about coming and doing it every day. But over time, you get real benefit there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Brian.
Yeah, so I was just curious if we have any tooling implemented in GitLab.com to monitor how or what features customers are currently using in the product. Is that Snowplow? I kind of remember that being part of the discussion at one point. Is that implemented there? Is there a place that we can see some stats around that stuff?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at this. Eric can fill in any gaps. Very recently, we implemented Snowplow on .com, and so now we have a data source that I think is rich and should enable us to monitor customer usage. So that's in much better shape as of recently. On the on-prem side, through the usage ping, we are working on improvements to the ping itself, and across both, we also have a project to get more accurate SMAL, that's stage monthly active user data. All three of those have to come together for us to get a complete picture, but we do have much better available on .com as of recently. Eric or anybody else want to pile on that?
That was a very accurate description, Scott. The only other thing I would say is that up until recently, we were not tracking all clicks from Snowplow, so we weren't getting kind of the fullness of data that we could have been. But we've recently made changes to basically implement all click tracking with Snowplow. So the short answer is yes and no. Are we monitoring product feature uses on GitLab.com? Answer is yes. Have we received any actual insights from that data yet? Not really. The other way we are getting some product feature usage from GitLab.com is querying the database directly. And so if you look at some of the product metrics decks around GitLab.com, we do have some feature data in that deck as well, but it's primarily around querying the database directly.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Leslie, you asked for links. Did you get what you needed there, or is there an expansion of that question you want to ask?
Yeah, lots of great reading, so I'll dig into that. And then I also saw that in November, so the 12.5 release, I think is what it says in the executive summary, is when you all are hoping to have Pendo implemented. So thank you. I think Kai linked all those there.
Great.
Over to Phil.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to ask this question, similar to Brian's question earlier. We have the usage ping on the on-prem versions of GitLab, self-hosted, and it's broken out with various product lines of what they're using if they leave it on. Is there a move to put feature usage in there? I know there's a lot of features that are not being captured on if that customer is using the features or not. So that's kind of my first question. I can get into the second one after that's addressed.
I believe that the usage ping is being expanded to pull in SMAL data. Eric or Luca, can you confirm?
Yeah, I think usage ping as a data framework is definitely being expanded for self-managed, Phil. The usage ping as exists as like the actual thing might be replaced by a new tool or technology. The point is we want a bunch more data from self-managed, and we're making a lot of improvements in 12.2. We're making even more improvements in 12.3 and 12.4 to get some of that data. With respect to scripting around valuable features, I think that's something that we probably need to go a little bit deeper into to figure out how we could get that information programmatically. And so, yes, the answer is yes. We're doing a lot there. With respect to your specific example on scripting, I'm not sure if we have that written out as an issue, but we should take that offline.
Yeah, the reason for that was, I've got a couple of customers that, have hundreds of thousands of CI builds running, right? And they're on core or they're on starter. So I'm just wondering, like, what does their life look like with not being able to use multi-project pipeline graphs or the pipeline dashboard? Like, how are they getting around this? And I'd love to understand, is this a real problem and what that looks like on their end, and how you can justify those feature upgrades?
I think Pendo will help us quite a bit with this too. It has an ability to show us usage paths through the system. So we won't have to go in and code possible usage paths in the way that might have been necessary if we used Snowplow. Pendo does some of that auto-magically, which was one of the big reasons why we wanted to start using that. And so I think we'll get a lot of insight about what common flows are that result in a good customer outcome and what common flows are that result in a poor customer outcome. And we can try to steer them to the happy path. That's the general idea. And we have an adoption PM that is starting next Monday. Well, sorry, 2 weeks on the 5th. And his role will be to help drive adoption wide in the product. And we'll be using this data set heavily to discover happy paths and try to put people on them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, hi Scott. I'm jumping in because I have a follow-up question on this. We had an issue about implementing a new framework for usage ping, but this issue is pretty old, so I'm looking for a new one if you have.
I just pasted it in there, Oliver.
Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Is that also for on-premise instances?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, a couple minutes left. One more.
Yes. Then I will ask a follow-up question again. Do we have an expected schedule about moving from the current usage ping, custom-made usage ping to Snowplow, and to extend that to the whole engineering? Because right now on each feature we deliver, the engineers are implementing usage ping using the current system. So this will impact our upcoming changes.
Yeah, so this is currently scheduled for 12.3. I don't know if Luke is on the call. Luke is the interim PM for our newly formed telemetry group, but this is currently scheduled for 12.3, which is our September 22nd release. The other thing to note as well, just so everyone's aware, is when we make a change like this, especially if it's going to be targeted at improving things for our self-managed customers, obviously there's an upgrade cycle that happens after this. And so there's going to be a period of time where we're going to have enhanced usage ping at the same time as people on the older ping. If you look at like 1 month after a given release, about 45% of our customers have upgraded, which is actually incredible. And it's a testament to the distribution team and how easy they've made that upgrade process. So you're looking at getting more like a statistically significant sample size of data, probably starting a month after the 12.3 release. So you're looking at the October timeframe. I just wanted to kind of highlight that out as a caveat. It's not like 12.3 launch happens and then we immediately start getting a whole bunch of data flowing through a new framework.
Thank you, Eric. All right, we'll end it here. Have a great Monday, y'all. Bye.